A few weeks ago, the co-founder of Illuvium, Kieran Warwick, spoke with Sam Stefina, a really big crypto gaming creator on Twitter and YouTube and all the rest of it, all about Illuvium and kind of where the DAO is headed. Now, there is one clip in particular that really got me thinking, and I want to show you that today, see what you think, and then talk all about what I think it could mean for the DAO when it comes to stopping revenue distribution, one of the things many of you are here for. I think it's really important we have an honest conversation about this. So let's jump into it.
One thing which would be like a fail safe is we could go to the investors and say, look, right now we need to focus on, we need survival is paramount. We go to those investors and say, you're going to earn no money in revenue distributions for this first 6 to 12 month period, but it allows us to ensure that we get the runway that we need. And then we'll give it back to you either pro rata, which we could do, or we just say from this point on, we will start revenue distributions. And immediately people who are like, well, they're going to run out of money. We're at least halving that burn with one single thing that investors would be insane to say no to, because it's like, do you want a little bit or do you want all of it, but at a later stage to ensure the safety, right? It's not an easy equation to work out to say, you know what? Yeah, let's let them cook and then we'll get more later on. So
what Kieran's saying here is we could essentially pause revenue distribution and then let people get it at a later date, or just restart it later on. For anyone who's unfamiliar, Illuvium has a system in it called revenue distribution, where 100% of revenues in the game are used to buy back the ILV token and then redistribute it to ILV stakers. How Illuvium makes its own money to fund development costs and things like that is currently the treasury holds about 15 to 20%, which is fluctuating depending on how many stakers there are of the total revenue pool. Now, in the month one, Illuvium generated about $500,000 and their burn was about 1.4 million. So about 30 or 40% of the total requirement, as the burn costs are actually dropping over these next few months as well. So if revenue distribution stopped altogether, then they would get 100% of the revenues, and it would help fund those development costs significantly more than the 1/5 of that they are currently getting. Now, I want to talk about this, okay? So the first, before we get into the thick of the video though, I think you should check out the best GameFi NFT project that exists. Anyone who knows me knows that I love the ETH Lizards and Lizard Labs, but what you might not know is they have evolved far beyond just an NFT project. They are now a gaming DAO that is building infrastructure, handing out alpha, and my personal favorite, allowing any individual to invest into new gaming projects on the ground floor. Jump into their Discord today to learn about the future of crypto gaming, as their token launch is right around the corner. And thanks again to Lizard Labs for sponsoring this video. And welcome back. So the two core things here are revenue distribution and another thing that Kieran talks about that I will show you in just a moment. So pausing revenue distribution would erode so much confidence in the project and cause many investors to just bail entirely. Now, let me know down in the comments if you would just completely bail out and leave if they ever did decide to do this, or the DAO decided to do this because it was a last resort. Like, I genuinely want to know how you feel. Me personally, I think it would be a semi-decent call for the reasons I'm going to explain in a minute. But at the same time, just to be absolutely clear, this is a last resort. No one plans on doing this at any point. This is just like, if the DAO absolutely has to, it will consider this option. So the other thing is the Illuvium Beyond safety net. It created a safety pool, which was essentially doing this for the period of Illuvium Beyond and up to a 5 million cap threshold. That already did not go over well. Now, people were happy in the end when the safety pool was filled, and they feel a little bit better about all of that. But really, when that whole discussion was happening, trust me, I believe I was on the council for that one. It was a tough sell. It was a tough conversation, and really no one was happy about it. It wasn't a good thing. And I think that that's like foreshadowing for if this were to ever go ahead. It would make people very nervous and just people very upset. And I totally get that. Even myself, I would be a bit upset, but it's just one of those things. Like, if there is no other option for the DAO, then what are you going to do? Like, it's either the DAO fails in some capacity or you do this, right? And if I had the option between the two, I would choose to take that option because it's just one of the last things left to do. But there is a few other options that I'll cover in just a moment. However, I am considering that there are in-betweens here. It is not just so cut and dry. For example, what if the DAO suggested cutting revenue distribution by 50%? So 50% would go to staking token holders as before, but 50% would go to the DAO regardless of how many tokens people have staked and things like that. I think that would be a much easier pill to swallow, still alleviate a lot of the issues, and just be really good overall. And I think that would be a really great solution, even if we're like, this one wasn't necessarily the last resort section. But like the other thing is, if it does cause the DAO to get all of their tokens back and then hoard them in the treasury for things like capital raises, so they're not really going straight to market, they're going through OTC deals and things like that, then theoretically that would make the token go up because tokens are being purchased by the DAO that are not then being sold. And obviously everything else being equal, this would make the token price go up to some degree. And I think people would be highly positive about that, but really they're not really thinking about that. And honestly, that would be much better than the money you are getting from revenue distribution potentially. The only thing is, once you sell it to those investors, eventually they'll sell those tokens on at some point. And so it's not like a permanent, long-lasting thing, but in the short term, it might actually be really healthy for the DAO and the token as a whole. But there is another option that Kieran talks about here, and I want to show you this right now.
As a final thing, which I say to some people when they really piss me off with this question, is I'm sitting on myself about $25 million. Now, my other brother is sitting on about $22 million, and we're both co-founders. The other one is left, which is another story. So I can't speak for him, but we've got something like $47 million that we could sell if worse came to worse. Now, people are like, you wouldn't do that. And it's like, okay, I'm going to let my DAO crumble so the tokens that I own are worth $0 and I get nothing just because I want to say I'm not selling these out of principle. No, like I'm a logical person. We would sit down, we'd say, we've used up our tokens, we've used the revenue distribution play, like there's no other card that we can pull. We need another 12 months runway.
Okay, so I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that is the logical next step. Honestly, I would like to see that option be exercised slightly before the revenue distribution option, or better yet, a combination of the two. Say the brothers sold $10 million worth of their tokens, about 25%. Revdis was paused by 25, 30%, something like that. The combination of the two could do some really great things for Illuvium as a whole. So there are lots of different options. I think what's important here is that we know that if Illuvium does take a little while to kick into gear, there's probably another 12 months almost guaranteed on top of what we already have of levers that we can pull that are not even at that last resort stage. And that's what I really want to focus on here. I think Illuvium's in a really good position to keep building on top of what they already have. They're updating some systems now to make themselves more agile. You can see some of the devs and things talk in the Discord about all of that. They're upgrading this thing. They're fixing the problems. They're getting fixed really rapidly. Combat and multiplayer and things are hopefully going to be here in 2024. Then we get some really cool new gameplay loops and new games and things in 2025 and early 2026 because we've got the time to actually really build out these systems. That's very, very exciting. So it's good to see we have that. Now, ultimately, is the DAO success more important than pennies? Right now, the DAO simply isn't generating enough revenue for you to notice the revenue distribution hitting your bank account or your IOV stake, right? So say you're earning $1 for every token every month. Actually, that's quite high. Let's say you're earning 50 cents, okay? Would you really rather that than see Illuvium cover its development costs and basically be guaranteed safe for the next 12, 13 months and really positive for future investors and other capital raisers and things like that? I just wouldn't be taking that deal over the DAO's future success. And I know it sucks that this position is kind of there and the bear market's taken its toll on lots of crypto gaming projects, Illuvium being in a better position than most of them. And so I think that's really interesting. It's really exciting for the future. I think there's a lot of different options coming, and it's always worth giving these things a chance if necessary. Now, if you want to learn more about Illuvium and what's coming, please check out this investor's guide to Illuvium if you want to learn more about the entire ecosystem. Have a good day, guys.